Listeners, there is a particular kind of exhaustion that does not come from doing too much, but from doing things that aren't truly aligned. From chasing goals that look right on the outside while something inside quietly resists. And yet, when our inner truth and outer purpose begin to speak the same language, life does not suddenly become perfect, but it does become coherent, softer, and more honest. So today we are exploring what it really means to live in that harmony. Welcome to the Wellness ReImagined, a space where we move beyond fixing ourselves and instead explore more integrated humane ways of living well, mentally, emotionally, and in purpose. I am your host, Pragya, and joining me today is Robin Clare, who is a best selling author and the creator of the Harmony Method, a framework that helps people align their inner world with their outer lives so that success, fulfillment, and clarity unfold without force. In this conversation, we are not talking about balance as a buzzword, but about alignment as a lived experience. What happens when who we are internally finally meets what we're doing externally, and how that harmony reshapes the way we live, work, and lead. I know that was a long intro, but let's go ahead with talking about Robin, her life, and Robin, in your work. Uh, I'm coming on to you directly now. That when we talk about your work, what have you observed people doing more of when they're actually out of alignment, and why do these strategies often fail sometimes? I'm asking this so directly and at first because that is the most important question I feel, because a lot of people, they're just confused that what strategies are to be applied so that it does not fail and all of that. So what have you observed? And yeah, how was it?
First of all, thank you for having me on the show. Appreciate it. And I actually sometimes I take a look at like the title of the show that I'm on, which is Ancient Wisdom and Modern Science, Healthier Balanced Life. And even in the two ideas, ancient wisdom and modern science, you can see where there could be out of alignment, right? Because the modern world doesn't necessarily respect the ancient wisdom, and the ancient wisdom doesn't necessarily take into consideration the modern world. And so it's something I was just looking, I wrote it down on a piece of paper. So what does create that out of balance? And it's when our inner world is not aligned with our outer world. Now, I wanna go right off the bat, I know that's this very spiritual concept, but I'm not really talking about you have to be super spiritual in your external world and super spiritual in your internal world. You just need to know what really what it is that your soul intends for you to do in this lifetime at this moment. Because all of my work, Pragya, is based on the fact that we are a soul being having a human being experience. And so the very beginning of the harmony method is the first level of the harmony method is something I call awareness. And that's when you're quiet enough, and that can be walking in nature. It could be meditating. It could be washing the dishes. However you get a chance to be quiet and listen to what is it that your soul is telling you right now about your life. And one of the things I do recommend is every day, if you're into journaling at all, one of the questions you should ask is, what does my soul want me to know today? And that question and just start writing is can help you move on to the next level, which is commitment, which is probably the hardest for all of us, is to make a commitment to what we're doing. So for example, the harmony book, excuse me, I received guidance to write this book, and then I had to listen, right? I had to listen to the fact that I it was time to write this book, Harmony, but then I truly had to make a commitment to do it. And for me, that commitment became taking an hour, 1 hour a day for a year to write this book. So I would even put it in my calendar, write book, write the Harmony book. It was an appointment I made. In the Harmony method, the first two things are awareness and commitment. And I'm just curious, do you have any questions about either one of those?
Yes, yes, I absolutely do. And thank you for that, very answer, because that sets the tone and that sets the fabric of it. And now coming on harmony, as you also reiterated and gave us out, I have something to add on that I feel is right. That harmony is often misunderstood as things, being calm, easy, or free of friction. Uh, but from what you've seen and what you've described, I want to know, how does true harmony actually coexist with challenge? Because it feels challenging and difficult. So I want to know, how does it feel, and how does that shift happen from, stop expecting alignment to feel comfortable all the time?
Yeah, so as you practice, so I'm gonna go on to the next 2 parts of harmony, and then I'll answer your question. So we had awareness, commitment. The next is mastery, and that is whatever you're learning and studying or knowing about in your commitment, you begin to embody those teachings. So you're embodying what your soul wants you to know. Right? And that's a beautiful thing because that creates a sense of peace inside of yourself. And then, so awareness, commitment, mastery, service. And then you start to say, how can I share this information with others? And so there's the service aspect to it. And so, Pragya, I apologize. Can you repeat the question so I could tie that together?
Yes. So, thank you for defining those two actually. And the question that I was asking is that, when we talk about harmony, it's misunderstood, but it's all about being easy and all of that. So I want to know that, how does true harmony actually coexist with challenge, everyday challenges, emotional challenges, and all of.
Yes. So I think I think easy for me has never been not never been the striving part. Maybe ease. I know one might say, "Oh, isn't that the same word?" But it isn't, right? Easy means that there's no challenge, right? Ease is that whatever the challenge is, I do it with grace, right? Grace and ease. And I think that's what harmony brings is that when challenges come up, if you're practicing the harmony method in your life, there's like a sense of presence that your presence inside of you, your soul energy almost comes to the forefront because you're now in relationship with your soul. Because it's so easy to forget, right, that we are a soul being having a human being experience and to even embrace that. But when we have a relationship with our soul, actually life becomes filled with more ease and grace because we know that that may not look like, when people are, like, in my face, like, in a weird either a weird way or a not nice way, my reaction is not to, fight back with them. My reaction is to say, "Why is this person talking to me like this? What is it that I need to learn from this, and what are they mirroring back to me?" Like, what is going on? Now, if I feel like I can't there's no answer and they're just being a jerk, then what I do is I flip that mirror around and let their bull crap bounce off the mirror and back at them, right? It's a very peaceful way to do it. I'm not really in their face back. I'm just saying, "No, I'm not going to listen to that. I'm not going to let that affect me." And then it just goes back to them. So I think when you start working and living in tandem with what is your soul's direction, there's a peace that follows you into every interaction. And I think it also stops that when you're that peaceful and calm, and that's when I knew that it was time to write the harmony book, because I had two people in a row say to me, "When I grew up, Robin, I want to be peaceful and calm like you." And I'm like, "You do?" I'm like, "That's nice." And I'm like, "Okay, that's a sign for me from my soul that I need to share why people are experiencing that when they're talking to me." Does that make sense?
It totally, totally does. And thank you for sharing that. And that reframing, it feels powerful. And yeah, I totally, totally understand that. Beautifully explained. Thank you.
Yeah, and so just to continue so that we don't miss the thread of the harmony method. So we had awareness, right? I was challenged to, asked to write the book, or these two people said this thing to me, and then the harmony book came to me. And then commitment was the everyday writing it. Um, Mastery was really embodying the teachings. I have to say, Pragya, I was nervous about this book because I didn't know if I was actually living the teachings, right? And I knew that I couldn't come on your podcast and talk about them until I was living them. So for me, the embodiment of it, like becoming really, really sound in what these teachings are. And then the service is actually publishing the book. Just because someone writes a manuscript doesn't mean they have to publish it and put themselves out there. So for me, putting the book out there and coming on the podcast was a form of service. But so that's the first four: awareness, commitment, mastery, service. The fifth one is leadership. And in this work, it's truly first about self leadership. Am I projecting to you a state of harmony? Am I living the teachings? Am I following the harmony method in all of my endeavors? Because as I shared, Pragya, it's not just about the spiritual path, it's about the creative path, the wellness path, the relationship path, the career path. You could apply these teachings to whatever it is, whatever path you're on. And so I try to do that. And so that's self-leadership. And by being in self-leadership, then I am naturally leading out in the world. But first, it starts with me. It starts with self-leadership. And then the last one is freedom. And that freedom is the now that my inner world now matches my outer world. Like I did all this work to write this book, Harmony. I wrote it, and now I am living it by teaching it out in the world and with private clients and things like that. So you see that? So there's a freedom there, right? There's a sense of freedom that what I know to be true for my life at this point in my life, I'm sure I'll get another book sometime and I'll be doing this again. But right now, I am to live harmonious on the inside so I can teach harmony on the outside. And so those are the six: awareness, commitment, mastery, service, leadership, and freedom. And when you live those all together, it creates a state of harmony in your life. So there was nothing easy about that, right? But there is ease in it.
I get it. I get it. And it's striking how, often um, harmony, not as avoidance or tension, is taken up, and inner steadiness holds the complexity that the harmony has without the fragmentation. And I know these are just the words that I've said, but I mean it. And thank
Yes.
you for sharing all the variations of harmony and the types and everything. So thank you for that. Now, when we talk about outer goals, then we've learned about harmony, we've talked about alignation and all of that. So, when someone's outer goals are disconnected from their inner world, it's really accidental, right? So, what deeper conditioning, identities, or survival patterns tend to drive that split, especially in high functioning, capable people? And I want to know your fresh perspective, or on the perspective that you hold behind it. So, yeah. I mean, if somebody has ambitions internally, they're particularly not, in their alignation, or they're not aligned emotionally, or there is something that is just restricting them. So I was saw what conditioning or identities or survival patterns tend to shift this, that the inner world is also satisfied, and then the outer goals are achieved. So I want to know that.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things that's really tied really close to the harmony method, and probably because I feel like I lived the harmony method even before I was writing the book. Like, I think I was living it through my other books. And one of the things that knocks us out of alignment between our inner world and our outer world is when we are addicted to something, right? And addiction is not necessarily just it's not necessarily just drugs or alcohol or whatever, porn, food. It could be addicted to like a drive to succeed that is just out of whack, right? Which doesn't makes you constantly in a state of, of suffering. And so the first in Feast and Famine, my first book, I mean, excuse me, my last book, pardon me, Before Harmony, we talk about the idea that what we're really addicted to is, suffering. And then we find a way to feel better about the suffering. So some other secondary thing becomes something that we're addicted to, and that could be we could be addicted to work even, or the drive for success because somewhere we don't feel good enough inside, and so we're suffering. And so the key would be to come into alignment would be to say, why can't I live in a balanced life? Like, why is my drive for success so incredibly important to me that it takes away relationships or my health or my obligations to my family or friends? And so you have to really understand what is driving that addiction to work or to success, so that you can understand it could be maybe a trauma pattern from your childhood where your parents were, really driving you and and that just created a sense of suffering inside of yourself. And since you haven't dealt with your own feelings about that success drive that your parents, that's so important to your parents, you're going to continue to do it and to the detriment of the other parts of your life. And so I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having success. I think success is wonderful, but it also has to be in alignment with what truly is important to you. So if you're driving success, but it's really important for you to be a good partner and parent, um, there's a disconnect there. And so you wanna be able to understand what's truly important to you in all aspects of your life, in your inner world, in your relationships, and then find the harmonious balance point. What is that point? And then move forward from there.
That was very insightful, and thank you for taking us through it again.
Yeah, because really think about it, Pragya. A lot of the drives and suffering that we have, it's not even ours, right? It could be our parents, right? That they gave us the gift that keeps on giving, right? It could be just society in general is saying, this is what needs to happen. So I'm going to take this all the way back to the first thing that we said. That's why I said that the imbalance between ancient wisdom and modern science. Sometimes modern science, when I think about modern science, to me, that's um, could be just the fast energy that we work, right? That is a contradiction to the ancient wisdom, right? And so we have to find that balance of um, what are our priorities and mix that in with what does our soul want us to accomplish. We need to be quiet enough to hear that and then find a way to accomplish that. And so for me, it's writing and speaking. And that's what I do to make sure that I'm getting this information out. But even you know, um, becoming a lawyer, like what really resonates with you? What type of law really resonates with your soul? So if you say, I just always wanted to be a lawyer for the environment is so important to me. Well, think about how much more harmony that would create, right? Versus if you were a corporate lawyer, fast-paced corporate lawyer, but you're really a more down-to-earth environmental lawyer at the heart of who you are, right? That disconnect would create a sense of disharmony in your life. Um, so you need to find out what truly resonates for you in your career path, and then see if it's possible to go in that direction.
That is so, so true that, sometimes all you want is something like there are so many cases, and we know that because we've been at those places. I know you've been at those places. That is how you share your experiences through it. That, when your heart is not aligned to what you're actually doing, there is no growth, there is no productivity that you see. It might just look very productive from the outside, but deep down, that you're not happy doing that. And that does not make sense then. That if you're not happy by doing something which is taking or consuming literally half your life, then what is the whole sense of it?
And also, sometimes we have no choice, right? Sometimes we're in a job that perhaps we're just in it for a while, right? It's a necessity for us to be in that job. It is, let's say, helping us pay for school, right, or something like that. So the key is how do you find the harmony in that job? And I think that the way that you would do it is just do the best that you can and knowing that this is a means to an end, right? Instead of just lamenting on every day that you have to go to that job, just say, this job is truly serving me by giving me the resources I need to create the career that really resonates with me. And so it's just seeing that it's just a piece of the puzzle, right? Of your life instead of like really feeling terrible about going, because that doesn't help. That feeling terrible about something will wind up having an impact on the rest of your life. And so if you can just be in acceptance that this is a means to an end, as long as you take the time to understand what you're truly supposed to be doing and follow the harmony method through the attainment of it.
Mm-hmm. That's so, so beautiful. Beautifully said, and I totally get it because yes, it can't always be what you want. Sometimes it's you are forced to, and I mean there are situations wherein you just have to be there, and that
Just
makes
know
sense.
that that's not forever, believe me, I can tell you that. It's fun talking to you folks because you're at the beginning of your career. I'm in the last phase of my career, and I can tell you life changes, right? Life changes. I've probably changed my career maybe multiple times. But it's all leading, right? Our soul is leading us to learn what it is that we came here to learn in this lifetime, why we embodied this lifetime. So if you can just say, okay, there's something I'm learning here. This may not be my most favorite thing. I find that as an executive director of a nonprofit, everything I learned in all of those jobs, whether I liked it or not, I'm using it now. And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's why I learned that, so I could do it here." So, I just wanted to share that, I have a lot of things, free meditations and different writings, and they're on my website, Harmony with Robin. And I just wanted to make sure that folks knew that they could learn more about this there.
That is so, so great. And thank you for, letting the listeners know about it. And thank you for all the wisdom and insights that you got on the shows. And to you and to our listeners, thank you for spending this time with us on the Wellness Reimagined. If today's conversation resonated, I invite you not to rush into action, but to notice where life may be asking for alignment rather than effort. I am Pragya, and may your inner world and outer purpose meet with a little more honesty, ease, and compassion. Wishing you a grounded, aligned, and meaningful new year. And thank you